Your first and last name and spell it for me.
Okay. Just say it?
Yep.
Okay, Lauren Lesiak. It's Lauren and then Lesiak.
What's your hometown, your major, and what year in school are you?
Sorry, say that again.
Your hometown is?
Lincoln. My hometown is Lincoln, Nebraska.
You're majoring in?
I'm majoring in chemistry and biochemistry.
And what year are you?
I'm a sophomore.
Okay, that was perfect.
Right, I would.
Talk to Carol now. And we're rolling.
Okay. So warm-up swings, like how did you decide that science would be your career?
In high school, I had a really amazing chemistry. Can I start again? In high school, I had a really amazing chemistry teacher who got me really interested in the subject, and I decided that I wanted to try and see if it'd be something I'd be interested in doing in college.
Great.
Mm-hmm. That's very good.
Okay. How did you find out about Young Nebraska Scientists?
I think I Googled it. I don't remember.
Okay.
Oh, I do remember. Okay. I actually got an email from a different program that was very similar, but I wasn't eligible, so I was looking for a different opportunity to do something similar and do research as a high schooler. So I happened across YNS as I was doing research on that and thought it looked like a really fabulous program.
Great.
Good.
Okay. What makes YNS so good, or what appealed about it, or what it turned out to make it so good for students interested in science?
YNS was such a great program because, I was 16, I was looking for a summer job, and here was a summer job that was going to pay me to do something that I was actually interested in and something that was actually going to be applicable to my future rather than working at Walmart, so.
We won't use the Walmart part.
Okay.
no slams, but I know what you mean.
Well, why don't you say that again and just say, instead of Walmart, say like working at a retail store or...
I can just leave it
working
out.
fast
That's
food or
fine.
whatever.
I can just leave it
Go and
out.
ask the question again.
Okay. So, what appealed to you when you found out about Young Nebraska Scientists, and as it turned out, what made it so good for a high school student to go into YNS?
YNS was very appealing for me because I was 16 and I was looking for a summer job, and it was a summer job that was going to pay me to do something that I was actually interested in and something that was actually applicable to my future.
Great. Okay. To this lab, how did that come about? Like.
After I was done with NYS, I went and finished my senior year of high school, and then I came back in the summer because I was going to be attending UNL and I wanted to get involved in research because I was intending to be a chemistry major, and Dr. Staines was willing to take me back into the lab, so I was able to continue much where I left off.
Great. You're great at doing a succinct answer. I like that. You got to step up. Let's see. How did what you did in YNS complement what you turned out to be doing as an undergrad here at UNL?
Well, YNS introduced me to research, which I'm hoping is my future career path for the rest of my life. So getting introduced to that early really helped me to see how my classes could be used to further my education in that respect.
Is it okay? Let's see. So, working with Cliff Staines' lab, what kinds of things were you doing that got you excited, starting with YNS and then?
Working with YNS and then again the next summer, I was seeing how things that I was learning, even in high school general chemistry, was relating to the sorts of things that I was doing in the lab and how information that I was learning as a teenager was still applicable to real-life research.
I think we're about midway to. It's important for science students, like high schoolers even, to do research in college.
I think any science student should become involved in undergraduate research just because it's a lot different than what you expect, and I think it's very important for people to understand that before they commit to grad school and a career.
Let's see. Working with Dr. Staines has meant the most to you. What difference does your connection to him have in shaping your plans and your path in science?
Can you repeat the question?
Okay, that's a long one. I'll break it up.
Okay.
Looking back, what from working with Dr. Staines has meant the most to you?
I think just the experience to be involved in real science and to see how it works from an undergraduate's perspective, to see what my life will look like, in 10 years when I'm in grad school and when I'm doing a postdoc, and just the ability to get involved in that the world of academia early.
Great. And then what difference has your connection to Dr. Staines made? If you hadn't worked with him, where do you think you'd be?
I think Dr. Staines is a really fantastic undergraduate mentor. He's been willing to take me on and has never, tried to belittle me or make it seem like my contribution was less because I was an undergrad, and I've always felt very valued and very much like my work was having a significant impact on the productivity of the lab.
Could you answer that question again without saying anything negative?
Oh, wait, what did I say?
Well, you said it, you never felt belittled.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So, but if you just answer that question, just say that you always felt like your contributions were valued.
Okay.
And that you're, but without saying anything negative.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Do you need me to frame it and then?
Yeah.
Okay. So what difference has your connection with Dr. Staines made in shaping your plans and your path in science?
Dr. Staines has been a really great undergraduate mentor because I've always felt like my contributions were valued and that the work I was doing was contributing to the overall productivity of the lab.
Great.
That's exactly what I was hoping you'd say.
If you were hesitant to apply or you were nervous maybe the first day after you'd been selected, what would you advise the high school researcher of the future?
I would encourage any high schooler interested in science to apply. It's really, I think, the best way you could spend a summer as a high schooler looking to get into science. And, everyone has to start somewhere. The first day is a lot, science is a lot different than what you think it might be like, but in the end, it's a really valuable experience.
Good. I'm going to ask to follow up, Riff, on that. Like, what you've mentioned a couple times, like the difference between what you thought it was going to be and what it really was.
I think the difference in my expectations as a high schooler is I was expecting it to be more fast-paced, more exciting, more like you see on TV. I expected the lab to be a lot cleaner.
That's okay.
But in the end, I think it's a lot more slower and methodical than I thought, but in the same way, I like that more. I'm a very detail-oriented person, so but there's also a lot more creativity involved than I thought.
Okay. How much do you think of history work outside of,
I'm always trying to make connections between my class and what I'm doing in lab, and I always get excited when my friends are like, I was reading this cool thing about something, and I'm like, oh, I know about that, let me tell you about my research, or sending my family things that I think are interesting, I guess. I don't know if that was a bad answer, I'm sorry.
No, I think that was good. I mean, there's stuff in there that we can use, so, okay. Let's see.
That's good.
I'm going to have you,
go
real
ahead.
quickly, tell Carol why you think it's important for science students to have an opportunity to do research when they're in college. Why is doing research
I
a
think she
great
got
thing?
that.
I think I already.
I just want you to rephrase it.
Okay. I think it's really important for undergrads to do research in college because...
Could you start again?
Oh, sorry. I think it's really important for undergraduates to do research in college because as a science major, you might end up doing research as a career. Like, you probably will end up doing research as a career. So, oh my goodness. Okay, wait, can I try that one again too?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, no, you're good. I think it's important for undergraduates to do research in college because they'll likely end up doing research as a career, and it would be hard to go on to grad school without having an idea of what academia is like.
Okay. Tell me why you decided you wanted to get into science. What was it about? What is it about science that you love?
Just like what I love about science.
Yeah. Why are you going to make a career out of science?
Okay.
Why are you going to spend the rest of your life in science?
I want to make a career out of science because I really like the idea of contributing to the network of human knowledge that we have and contributing to, doing experiments. And no matter how small my contribution is, somebody 10 years down the road can look at that research and, it's a building block for the next step.
Okay, that's very good.
All
All right, now I'm going to have you say your first and last name and spell it, okay? Go right ahead.
My name is Tiffany Trong, Tiffany, last name Truong.
What's your hometown?
My hometown is Lincoln, Nebraska.
What's your major?
My major is chemistry and biochemistry.
And what year in school are you?
I am a senior about to graduate in May.
Great.
Okay. Let's see. So, how did you decide that science would be your career?
When I was young, I asked a lot of questions, and my parents were slightly annoyed by this, but they were still very supportive, and they said, you know, instead of asking us all of these questions, why don't you go answer them yourself? So that was kind of the little spark that made me want to pursue a career where I could answer my own questions. And I had very good role models growing up. My 6th grade science teacher was probably the first person that got me involved in science. I participated in Science Olympiad all 3 years of middle school, all 4 years of high school, and then my physics teacher in high school encouraged me to apply for the research program YNS.
That was my next question.
Yeah.
You're competent, you're already on that. So how did you found, tell me how you found out about YNS, what you thought when you found out about it.
Yep, so Science Olympiad was a really important activity for me in high school because it allowed me to be competitive and expand my knowledge in science, which I was already interested in, as well as meeting other peers who were interested in science. And I got to push myself and challenge myself in many different disciplines of science, so physics, chemistry, biology, biochem, all of these really different areas of science, and it kind of helped me narrow down what I wanted to do. I took an AP chemistry and AP biology course my junior year of high school, and I really enjoyed those courses, and my physics teacher, high school teacher, could really tell that I enjoyed those, so he encouraged me to apply for this program. And in fact, I think he pushed all of the Southwest kids into applying this program, and it was really wonderful because I was looking for a summer job. I wanted to have some experience with networking and people skills, and this was kind of the perfect mesh of all of those things that I wanted in a job.
As it turned out, what made YNS so good for students in high school hoping to do scientific research?
I think a lot of other universities lack this opportunity for high school students to get involved because they don't think that they're able to or they don't have the skills to, but YNS really puts their faith into high school students, and they believe in you and they know that you are competent enough to complete this work even though it may be challenging. And so I think it's good to get involved at a younger age because it puts you ahead of your peers. You get exposed to the material beforehand, and it's the same reason why you would challenge yourself in any other subject. It's so that you can get ahead and you can start learning ahead of time, so that you are more comfortable with the skills by the time you get to the age where most people start doing the work.
Can we do that one over because the door's slammed?
I know, I was thinking about
That's
that.
okay.
So let's see, that was the part about what makes YNS so good for high school students wanting to do research.
I think YNS is a great program because it allows students to start work that they would start at the collegiate level at the high school level, and it's the same reason why you'd want to challenge yourself in any subject, because you want to start sooner so that you can have more time to kind of digest the material, learn the material, get really comfortable with it so that you're an expert by the time that you get to college.
Great. What advice would you give to a future YNS candidate who might be a little tentative about applying, and also once they're selected might be nervous starting in a place that's unfamiliar?
I would highly encourage you to apply if you're interested, even if you're nervous or afraid. Every first day for a YNS student, I'm pretty sure, is very intimidating. I remember my first day, I came into this lab, and I had only 1 year of chemistry and biology under my belt, and I barely knew what people were talking about at all. And it is really scary, but pushing yourself out of your comfort zone helps you grow as a person. And I think now, looking 6 years back to when I started, I'm much more knowledgeable in this topic. I feel like I can talk about it very comfortably, and I feel like I can surpass my peers talking about this particular area of science.
Great. Let's see, how important was it to have Dr. Staines here as that first faculty mentor for you on campus?
Having Dr. Staines as my first faculty mentor was pretty pivotal in a lot of my decisions I made in the last 6 years. So first of all, choosing UNL as my college, it was already nice being able to say I had a research position here, and he was able to kind of guide me in my coursework and selecting my major and my minors. Also, he's just been a fantastic mentor in terms of how to handle research, how to think about problems, how to problem solve, how to work with others, networking within the department and meeting other professors, as well as just giving me life advice in general for choosing my professional career.
Thanks. High school students to do this kind of hands-on research, even at high school, if they're thinking about college.
In my opinion, there is no better way to learn science than to do it yourself. I mean, you can sit in a classroom, listen to somebody who's done it for years talk about it. You could watch videos. You could even look at diagrams or try to just watch somebody do it. But there really is no better way to learn the material than to do it yourself with your own hands. And even though you might not get it correct the first time, or you might make mistakes along the way, you'll never forget how to do it. Once you do it with your own hands, make the mistakes, and then learn from those mistakes.
You said you remember your first day here. So you had high school chemistry, but you said you didn't know a lot, you thought, but you've gone on to join the Protein Act. Maybe you can tell us about your progression from that first day in chemistry here into, you know, a real funded research project.
So yeah, I took one class each of chemistry and biology. So I had very, very basic knowledge. I just took the AP exam, I think, and just finished my junior year of high school. And then about a week later, I got an email saying that I'd been accepted into this program and I was going to meet Dr. Staines a couple weeks afterwards. So I remember coming to campus, and I had really never been on campus before except for Science Olympiad competition. So it was pretty intimidating to see this building. It's very big. And I was with my mom actually, and she and I came up to the lab together, and Dr. Staines gave us a tour, and then we sat in his office and talked about the project that I was going to be working on. And I rarely remember hearing some vague terms that I understood, like plasmid, bacteria, cloning, kind of just in and out. And my brain was just kind of like hopping all over the place because I was really nervous because I really wanted to learn all this information and perform well, but I also knew it was my first day, so I should probably take it slow a little bit. But it has seriously been a huge progression since that first day, because as I take courses throughout the university as well, it's contributed to my knowledge in the lab, and my knowledge in lab has also contributed to my success in my academic coursework as well. So they kind of build off of one another. So now, knowing these vague terms, I can actually apply. I can see it in my head. I can start, you know, planning projects and troubleshooting around these concepts. They're not just foreign kind of ideas that are isolated in a textbook. It's actually something very real and something that I can actually visualize and see and kind of build off of. So it's really nice seeing these concepts that otherwise would have just been, you know, something I might have forgotten down the road. I'm actually probably going to remember it for the rest of my life.
Excellent. Let's go over to your plans for, how do you think from YNS through your time with Staines Lab, how do you think that will have prepared you, if you have a way to foresee?
I get asked a lot why I decided to pursue research even though I'm going into the medical career, and I think they're very comparable fields, because a lot of the techniques and treatments in medicine come from bench-side research. So my future goal is to kind of work at the interface of both and hopefully direct researchers and doctors together to kind of come up with better treatment plans for patients. I'm going to complete my medical school education first, but I really do think that my background in research, knowing how to plan experiments, knowing how to work with others, and knowing how to problem solve are really going to be useful. And even kind of the softer skills, not necessarily science, like being able to talk with people, being able to explain your ideas concisely and in a manner that others can understand, and being able to present in front of other people very difficult or challenging information is going to be extremely useful, because I need to be able to do that with my patients, for example. Being able to explain very challenging and scary concepts at a level that they can understand and feel comfortable with. So all of these skills together, communication, presentation, working with others, it's come through research.
Wow. Blown away. Plans going to UNMC medical school, and do you think you'll stay in Nebraska and become a doctor here in state? I mean, because that's like what the university loves.
Yeah. It's hard to tell right now what I'm going to do. I didn't see myself going to UNL, 5 years ago, and it's brought me here and all of these wonderful opportunities. And I didn't see myself, publishing papers or presenting at symposiums or anything like that. So it's kind of, for me, I just kind of leave it open. I'll definitely have some plan in mind. I wouldn't mind staying in Nebraska, but I also think it might be fun seeking other opportunities elsewhere. So I'll see where life takes me 4 years from now, I guess.
Let's see.
I can't think of anything, so.
You did wonderfully.
Thank you.
Why don't you say your first and last name and spell it for us?
At the camera or at Carol?
Just look at Carol.
Okay.
Good practice.
Yep. Okay. My name is Balong Trong. That is Baolong. Last name Truong.
What's your hometown, your major, what year in school are you?
So hometown's Lincoln, Nebraska. You said college and major?
Yeah, your major.
Biochemistry in the College of Arts and Sciences.
And you say what year you are?
Sophomore year.
Sophomore, okay. Carol,
Okay.
we're rolling.
So
All right.
same warm-up swing question.
Yep.
How did you decide that science was going to be your career?
I had a really nice science teachers in high school. In high school, for sophomore year is chemistry, and then in junior year is biology. Those two professors really taught me that science was sort of an explorative field. Sort of you get to explore the mechanisms of how everything works in the world. So it was sort of like an exploration as to how things were able to work, and being able to take an active part in that exploration was what really drove me towards science.
Great. And then how did you find out about Young Nebraska Scientists?
I found about Young Nebraska Science through two people. One was through the physics professor. I took junior year, physics teacher that I had junior year. Sorry.
Just start from
Yeah.
the beginning.
Sorry.
How did you first learn about Young Nebraska Scientists?
So I found about Young Nebraska Scientists through two people. One was through my physics teacher that I had junior year, and the second was through my older sister, both of whom were very familiar with the program.
Great. As it turns out, so good for high school students interested in science.
I think what YNS does, it allows people in high school to sort of experience science at the first hand. You see scientists like through lectures, you can hear people talk about it, you can run through experiments, you could like read textbooks about it. But what the Young Nebraska Science program allows you to do is sort of explore science at its peak. You're carrying out the experiments yourselves. You're taking things for a hands-on approach. You get to see how science works. You also get to see that science isn't always going to work out 100% of the time. Sometimes you're going to have some setbacks, sometimes things aren't going to work out well. But that is what science exploration is understanding what the world is through experimentation.
Right. Okay. What advice would you give for future YNS high school researchers? Maybe they're tentative about applying, or they're nervous to start in a lab on a college campus.
I would say always take the initiative. Is that with undergraduate research, yes, it is going to be something scary, and that was definitely something that I can remember is being nervous about coming into the lab sophomore year. But what was important was that I not only had the experience, but I was able to see science at firsthand. Not only see like what undergraduate research is about, but be able to understand, is this something that I want to go further into? Is this something I want to explore? I think having that experience more is what's really important.
Okay, so working with Dr. Staines, like, your eyes to science.
I think working with Dr. Staines has showed me like a lot of some of the first-hand experiences working in the lab, being able to talk about. Sorry, can we roll that one again?
Sure.
I just need to think about this one for a sec.
Sure.
So you just roll by the question one more time.
Yeah. How has working with Dr. Staines opened up your eyes to opportunities in science?
I think working with Dr. Staines has allowed me to see research firsthand, see a lot of the experiments firsthand, has really opened me up to undergraduate research opportunities, not only in his lab, but across the chemistry department as a whole and across the whole entire campus. So being able to see that undergraduate research firsthand really opened up my eyes to a whole new world that is research.
Great. You plan to go to medical school, I've heard.
Yep.
So how is it that research, you think, will help your career path?
I think that research really is sort of at an exploration of what medicine can do. Medicine is about treating people, being able to treat diseases at a small level. Doing undergraduate research, you get to see those interactions, not in just an organic body, but just in a beaker or in a bottle. You get to see how it interacts firsthand. There's a lot of applications that I think that could be tied between doing undergraduate research and in medicine, as the two are sort of like inexplicably exchanged.
Okay. Let's see, you were a high school researcher, and
Yep.
then you were hired into Staines' lab. So how has your knowledge and abilities in that firsthand realm grown?
Sorry, could you, one more time?
How has your scientific capability grown over time from high school researcher? Maybe think about how when you started, like it was weird to make a compound, or
Yeah.
now you keep a lab notebook, and what
Yeah.
kinds of things. How do you know you're a scientist?
I'd say that in the lab, like, again, it's being able to keep the notebook, be able to know the compounds, being able to know where everything is around the lab and what is it that you need to do. In high school, when I started the undergraduate research, I was sort of just making sure I can apply what I learned in the high school classes to the experiments. For now, it's just being able to anticipate, being able to go further ahead, being able to talk about, like, what is it that I need to do for the next experiment? Like, what am I doing? What is the next thing I need to do? How can I make that into something that I can apply later?
Can I follow up on that?
Yep.
Could you tell Carol, just talk about how Dr. Staines has made you a better scientist?
I feel like Dr. Staines has really opened up my eyes to what undergraduate research is. He is more than willing to work around tight schedules, be more than willing to introduce you to some of the concepts in the lab and, like, go through the lab tours. He's very friendly with, like, younger students, so I think that really helped me kind of have a nice segue from high school learning in a classroom to being able to conduct my own research in the lab.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Coming in as a high school researcher, did this expose you to more diversity in terms of people or ideas, or?
I think it exposed me to what science was as an exploration. In high school, a lot of my learning was predicated to just the classroom, reading the textbook, following notes, listening to what the teacher does and says, make sure you do the problems right or wrong. When you're doing undergraduate research, it's sort of the complete opposite. You're at the forefront. You kind of have to teach yourself, or you have to learn what's going on, what is it that you're doing. You're sort of at the forefront. It's not somebody else always that is guiding you through the concepts. It is you are exploring the concepts yourselves. So it's sort of like an interpersonal route from just learning in the classroom to being able to apply things firsthand.
Excellent answer. Like, you're now your own teacher in
Yeah.
a lot of ways. I like that. Let's see.
Well, let's have you say that then.
I am my own teacher. You are.
You've become your own teacher.
Yeah.
Put that in your own phrase it your way.
Yeah. So just this question again. Okay.
Oh, yeah. How? Where? This is riffed
Yeah,
about
it's
5 times now. Let's see. So, having Dr. Staines as a mentor, and coming through the high school researcher to now your undergraduate and your plans for medical school, like, how has your scientific capability progressed?
I feel as if in the high school experience, you are largely predicated to a classroom environment. A lot of the times you are taught from a lecture or from a whiteboard or from PowerPoint. You are taught to make sure you follow the notes, make sure that you are reading the book, make sure that you're listening to what the teacher says. A lot of the learning is, while enjoyable, is sort of predicated to what does the teacher know and can you absorb the information. When you're in the research lab, though, you are sort of at the forefront of exploration and knowledge. You are kind of your own teacher, as you are not only carrying out your own experiments, but you are learning how to plan ahead and what you need to do, learn what you need to do in the future.
Excellent. All right.
So are the hand signals like all right? Because sometimes I just kind of move my
Yeah,
hands.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, absolutely. Be as natural as you can.
Okay.
I guess also kind of one more, going back to YNS as a summer job, like, your experience as a high school researcher, did it help you kind of take the road less traveled, and what do you see as the benefits, like, if you could tick them off? Like,
I think with undergraduate research, it sort of gives you a more holistic look at what science is as just an exploration rather than just a learning experience or something that you take in the classroom. A lot of it is also being able to express what I learned in the lab in shorter terms, whether that's talking with my professor and being able to re-explain what I learned in the lab, or talking with family and friends about what my research involved. So being able to explain that in shorter terms, be able to explain those ideas, especially when I'm going to be talking with either other colleagues about it or when I'm going to be talking with future patients about that, so I can take the doctor route, is, I think, a very valuable skill.
okay, anything that we didn't ask that you'd like to address, or?
No, I don't think so.
No? Good.
Who's smarter, you or your sister?
Uh-oh.
Yeah, crossfires.
No, I'm kidding. Don't answer that.
Okay.
It's a trap. Say your first and last name and spell it for me, please.
I should look at her, I guess, right? Yeah, okay. Cliff Staines, Cliffstains. Yeah.
What's your job title?
I'm an assistant professor of chemistry. Yeah.
Okay.
Cliff, why do you think it's good to bring young, like, high school scientists into your lab?
Yeah, so I mean, it's important to get exposure early to science, right? So I think it helps you decide what you want to do in the future, right? So there's nothing like really getting in a lab and having an authentic research experience, right? It's very different than what, it allows you to really learn how science is executed, right? So it's really different than what you might see on like TV or something, right? So most experiments that you might have done up until that point, there's several thousands of people who have repeated that experiment and got the same result, right? But when you come to a research lab, you're doing something for the first time, right, that no one else has done, right? It might not work the first 20 times you do it or something, right? So an authentic research experience is really pivotal for helping people understand what the process of science is and whether that's an appropriate career choice for them, I think. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Describe for me how what's your involvement with Young Nebraska, or what has been your involvement with Young Nebraska
Wait
scientists?
just a second for that door to slam.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Before you answer.
So you mean in terms of like a mentor or like?
Yeah, like when you agreed to take on students, what did that mean day to day for you?
Yeah, so my role with Young Nebraska Scientists has essentially been to operate as a mentor. And so what that means is I kind of facilitate high school students coming into the lab, usually working with a graduate student mentor to sort of learn the nitty-gritty details of how one might mix reagents together or measure things or take spectra of molecules. And then I help essentially with interpreting data and thinking about what to do based off of results. So usually we try to build like a architecture for mentoring where I'm helping out with, you know, me and a graduate student are kind of helping out with like driving where a project might go or what might be the point of the science that's going on, and then the graduate student is helping out with sort of the nitty-gritty details of the day-to-day experiments. So anyway, so it's important to kind of have this like tiered mentoring structure, if you will.
Yeah,
It helps
good.
out.
It takes the appropriate time. One level and then insight from the higher level.
I think it's good to have many mentors at some level. So yeah.
And it's good for the grad student to train a younger person.
Right. So it's good on many levels, right? Yeah. Yeah.
So what's in it for you as faculty when you're adding high schoolers to your team?
Well, it's the next generation of scientists, right? That you know, it's the next generation of people who will think about what science means to them and how it's important to society, right? And so, just at a generic level, we sort of want people to be informed about how the process could be beneficial to, you know, the broader economy, as well as technological innovations, right? So.
The human condition.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Let's see. So, how do you introduce these high schoolers to your lab? You have the grad student help out, but that takes some prior planning. So.
Yeah. So again, sort of the evolution of a high school student in the lab is also kind of like a tiered sort of system. So initially, a high school student usually plays a very supporting role in a project, right? So the idea is that there's something very defined and relatively straightforward that they can kind of interface with and progress relatively rapidly on. But as they grow and mature into a more independent researcher, the idea is that you start to transition or take more ownership of your project. And so you start to transition into a role where you're starting to think about, okay, I generated this piece of data. What does that data mean? And then what do I do with that, right? So you're essentially progressing to the point where you're like a graduate student, essentially, right? Yeah.
Great. Let's see, what makes for a good high school researcher from your perspective? What do you like to see in these high school students coming in?
Yeah, for me it's pretty simple. I'm just looking, in terms of finding someone who would be a good fit for the lab, it's someone who's just interested in the kind of science that we're doing. That's basically all. So we all had to start somewhere. None of us really knew what we were doing when we started. And I think most of it for me is are you or are you not passionate about the work, right? So.
Okay. Let's see. How do you feel when you see a high school researcher go on to become your student and then go on to a great career? What does that mean to you?
Well, clearly seeing a student progress from high school to undergrad and then attaining a position in professional school is very rewarding, right? I mean, that's sort of why you get into the whole to the whole thing. So yeah, I really take mentoring of students seriously in that way. So I like to help people gain the tools that they need to succeed in whatever type of job they might want to do. So it might not always be academics or med school. It could be like patent law or pharmacy school or even like industry or something, right? So that's fine. Everybody has to find their own path. But that's very fulfilling from my perspective. Yeah.
I've heard you say that you're a first-generation scientist.
Yeah.
So how is that even more meaningful to you to bring on the next generation?
Yeah, so as a first-generation student, as I look back on it now, I think it was very important to have mentors who, or people that I worked with that were also passionate about what they were doing. I think that kind of like rubs off in some way and helps you sort of get a sense of what it is that you're going to do in any kind of discipline, right? So I had no idea like what a scientist really did, or like a faculty member really did. I just kind of figured it out along the way, right? With the help of a bunch of a series of really great mentors. And so for me, again, I think that mentoring process is super helpful in that. So if you have a good resource or individual who's willing to talk to you about, you know, different career paths and what those involve, I think that can be really helpful for you discovering things as a first-generation student. Yeah.
Talk to Carol real quick about why Nebraska is a great place for research.
Why Nebraska?
For students to do research. Why is Nebraska such a perfect place?
Because the students are great. Now,
What is it about the culture here or the mindset?
yeah. So part of the reason I think that Nebraska is a great place to do research, especially as a young scientist, is that it's very welcoming. So Nebraska is I found very open to what do I want to say, junior students, so like high school students that might be entering into your lab. It's very easy to kind of recruit those types of individuals, and the university is very welcoming in that sense and very supportive of that. So for my wife and I would say Nebraska was a great place to do research because the university and I think the people of the state were sort of very welcoming in terms of recognizing that it's important to put resources into the university, and that helps, you know, again, drive the local economy. It seemed like people in the state really saw the importance of higher education, which we thought was nice. So, yeah.
You mentioned your wife. That a lot of her research seems to be about making sure that science is learned in a hands-on way, not just in a lecture way. So how do you carry that out? And you may have already addressed this.
No. Yeah. So in terms of, okay, so I think in terms of thinking about how to develop as a scientist, there's two components, right? So you have a lecture class, which is very important for learning concepts and ideas that one might, or theories that one might need to execute science. But you still need like an authentic like research experience to get a sense of what it is like to do science, right? So those two things coupled together, I think, are very important. So you can learn, as Lauren was talking about, like concepts like in lecture, but until you really apply them in lab, it's a little bit like maybe having a class where you talk about riding a bicycle, but you never ride it, and the riding part happens like when you get in lab. And that can be different than one might expect. And so I think coupling those two things together is very important. Yeah.
Okay. Who's maybe tentative to apply or nervous of the first day?
Yeah. Oh, well, just keep the lab clean. But no. So advice that I would give for a high school researcher is, I know it seems intimidating, but don't be scared, right? So all of us started, even though it might seem that way, all of us started in that position, right? There was a place and time where I did not know anything about what I'm doing now, right? And so we all had to start there, right? So just go for it, right? If you don't try, it certainly won't ever happen, right? So you have to give it a shot and see what happens. And if you don't like it, there's no reason to feel bad about that, right? So part of, I think, the research experience is figuring out what you like and also what you don't like, right? And not everybody has to do lab work for the rest of their life, right? You might like to do other things, and there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah.
Okay. Good. All right.
So just tell Carol about your experiences with the honors program. Hopefully positive experiences.
My experiences with the honors program has been wonderful. I would say similar to the way that YNS provided me an opportunity to research early, the honors program provided me an opportunity to expand my research beyond what other students at this university are doing. Through honors, I was able to apply for UCARE, which is the general research program that most students undergo, but also I was able to present my research at the ACS conference in San Francisco, apply for 2 cohort-based research programs, co-author 2 publications, as well as apply for the Barry Goldwater Undergraduate Research Scholarship and become an honorable mention in that. And all of those opportunities were afforded through the honors program. So having the mentorship for my applications, being able to collaborate with other students in my cohort that I would not have otherwise, and just having the confidence to present in front of others and gaining more opportunities to work with students outside of my discipline, those were all afforded to me by the honors program.
Okay, very good. Speak specifically just a sentence or two about honors in relation to research. Okay, just 1 or 2 sentences tops.
I think the most beneficial part of researching through honors is that you can use that work that you have created throughout the years as your thesis to turn in to graduate with honors. So the research that I've done starting in YNS all the way up through now for the past 6 years, I turned in as my senior thesis.
Great.
Wow, I didn't get that in my interview. I'm glad.
Let's talk about honors in relation to being a peer mentor. Just a little bit about what that experience was like for you and why it was so great to be a peer mentor.
Okay, sure.
1 or 2 sentences.
So the same reason that I explained earlier as to how scientists need to take complex ideas and explain them in simpler terms for others, it's the same idea for mentorship. You're taking very complex ideas at the collegiate level and explaining it to incoming high school students. So being a peer mentor was extremely beneficial for me because I got extra practice with that. It was fun, engaging, and I also get the rewarding experience of knowing that I'm going to help somebody later on in their collegiate experience and have the same great experience that I had.
Okay. Your time on the student advisory board, why was it awesome?
Okay. So I've been on the Honors Program Student Advisory Board since freshman year and later serving as treasurer this past year. It's been a really wonderful experience because you are the liaison between students and faculty in the Honors Program. You do have some input as to the programming, the events that you host for students. You help build a sense of community for the honors program, as well as meeting other students and seeing their leadership styles, how they plan events, and seeing what they're passionate about as well. So it's been a wonderful leadership opportunity and also a good networking opportunity.
Great. A high-achieving student, and you want to encourage her to be active in the honors program, to take advantage of it. What would you say to her to encourage her to give it a try?
There's a lot of students who think that the honors program is just a set of academic requirements. And even though it is a line on your diploma when you graduate, it's way more than that if you push yourself to get involved. There's many different ways to meet other students outside your discipline, to challenge yourself, to take courses with smaller class sizes, to meet professors that are very passionate in their field and willing to work with high-achieving students to help them get where they want to go. The opportunity to build your professional career, the opportunity to expand your discipline and be high-achieving in those areas, and also the opportunity to make yourself into a better person by meeting other people and volunteering and being engaged into the community. And there's also financial help in the area of the honors program that you can receive scholarships as well.